Driving through the Kansas night, the darkness felt like a heavy blanket pressing in on me. The breakup with Sarah was a raw wound, and the endless stretch of highway seemed to mock my loneliness. Each mile just put more distance between what was and what now is. My phone, my only guide in this sea of black, suddenly froze. The GPS signal vanished, leaving me completely adrift. Just as a wave of panic began to rise, I saw a flicker of light ahead. A rest stop, blazing with an almost unnatural brightness against the pitch-black surroundings. It looked like a beacon, a safe harbor. So I pulled in, desperate for a moment of normalcy. The air outside the car was cold and still, carrying an odd, electric charge. The rest stop was eerily silent, not another car in sight. As I got out to stretch my legs, an old man materialized from the shadows near the vending machines. He was gaunt, with eyes that seemed to have seen too much. He didn't say hello. He just looked at me and said, "Whatever you do, son, don't answer the phone in there." He gestured with a shaky thumb toward the men's restroom. I must have looked confused because he repeated himself, his voice a low, urgent whisper. "Just don't." He then shuffled back into the darkness and was gone as quickly as he had appeared. His warning echoed in my mind. It was bizarre, something out of a late-night radio drama. But the need to use the restroom was real. So I pushed his strange words aside and walked toward the brightly lit building. The bathroom was sterile, almost clean. The fluorescent lights hummed loudly, the only sound in the unnerving silence. As I stood at the sink, washing my face with cold water, it started, a shrill, insistent ringing. On the wall, next to the paper towel dispenser, was an old, yellowing payphone. I stared at it, the old man's warning now screaming in my head. Who even uses a payphone anymore? The ringing wouldn't stop. It was relentless, drilling into my skull. My curiosity wrestled with my fear. What if it was important? What if someone needed help? Against my better judgment, I picked up the heavy plastic receiver. "Hello," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The line crackled, and then a voice came through, a voice that made my blood run cold. It was Sarah's, but it wasn't. It sounded distorted, stretched, like a recording played at the wrong speed. "Evan," it rasped, "why did you leave me?" It was a question she'd never asked. We'd ended things mutually. "I'm waiting for you. Evan, come back." My heart hammered against my ribs. I slammed the phone back onto its cradle, the plastic cracking under the force. That wasn't Sarah. It couldn't be. A wave of pure terror washed over me. I had to get out of there. I burst out of the restroom and ran toward my car, fumbling for my keys. As I looked back, I saw a figure silhouetted in the doorway of the restroom. It was tall, unnaturally so, with long, spindly limbs that seemed to bend at odd angles. It wasn't the old man. It was something else entirely, something wrong. I jumped into my car, jammed the key in the ignition, and peeled out of the rest stop, tires squealing on the asphalt. My breath came in ragged gasps. I didn't dare look in the rearview mirror until I was a good mile down the highway. When I finally did, my relief was short-lived. A pair of headlights was gaining on me, fast. It was an old sedan, the kind you see in vintage movies. But as it got closer, I realized with a jolt of horror that there was no one in the driver's seat. The car was empty, yet it was expertly tailgating me, matching my every move as I swerved, trying to shake it. I pushed my car to its limit, the engine screaming in protest. The empty sedan stayed right on my tail, its headlights like two predatory eyes in my mirror. I was desperate, looking for any turn-off, any sign of civilization. Then, up ahead, I saw it, the same blaze of light, the same impossibly bright rest stop. No, it couldn't be. I hadn't turned around. I'd been driving straight for at least 10 minutes. It was impossible. The sedan was forcing me toward the exit, boxing me in. I was trapped in a loop, a nightmare I couldn't escape. The entrance to the rest stop loomed, a gateway back to the horror I had just fled. Panic gave way to a primal instinct for survival. I wasn't going back in there. At the last possible second, I yanked the steering wheel hard to the left, veering off the highway and onto the rough, grassy shoulder. The car bucked and bounced, the chassis groaning as it hit uneven ground. I saw the sedan's headlights flash past me on the road, continuing toward the rest stop. I didn't stop. I plunged my car into the open field, into the complete and total darkness, away from the phantom lights and the haunted road. The world became a blur of black. The next thing I knew, I was waking up. Sunlight streamed through my windshield, blinding me. I was parked in a ditch on the side of the highway. My head was pounding, and my body ached all over. The rest stop was gone. There was nothing but flat, empty fields for miles in every direction. It was as if it had never existed. Was it all a dream? A hallucination brought on by exhaustion and heartbreak? I told myself it had to be. A few days later, back home, I finally got the courage to check my dashcam footage. I needed to know what had really happened. I fast-forwarded to the time I would have been at the rest stop. The video showed me pulling off the highway and parking. But there was no rest stop. There was just an empty, desolate patch of dirt. The footage showed my car sitting there, motionless, for 40 minutes. Then, the video showed me getting out of the car, standing in the middle of this empty lot, and just staring at something that wasn't there. For 40 minutes, I just stood perfectly still. Then, I got back in my car, drove into the field, and the recording stopped. There was no old man, no phone, no chasing sedan, but the most chilling part, in the audio, faint but clear, underneath the hum of my car's engine, you could hear the distant, unmistakable sound of a ringing telephone. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days, not for lack of trying, either. I've been driving nonstop, trying to put as much distance as I can between me and that house. That empty, silent house, my sister, Marbelle, is gone. It feels wrong to even think it. The words are ash in my mouth. She was my rock, the one person who always knew what to say. Now, there's just silence. I'm heading to Oregon. New state, new life, or so they say. But the further I drive, the more it feels like I'm thus dragging her ghost along with me. The rain started somewhere in Northern California, a relentless, drumming beat against the windshield that matched the throbbing in my head. I pulled into a deserted rest stop, the kind that feels like the edge of the world. The only other sign of life was a beat-up black SUV parked under a flickering light. As I got out to stretch my legs, the SUV's owner, a man with a weary face and a thin mustache, approached me. "Hey, sorry to bother you," he said, his voice raspy. "My car won't start. Battery is dead. I think, any chance you have jumper cables?" Something about him felt off, but my exhaustion was a thick fog. I just wanted to get back on the road. Marbelle would have helped him. She always helped everyone. So, I grabbed my cables. We fumbled in the dark and the rain, the hoods of our cars like gaping mouths. After a few tries, his engine sputtered to life. He gave me a grateful nod. "I owe you one," he said, before climbing back into his SUV and pulling out onto the highway, disappearing into the night. I followed a few minutes later, feeling a little better for having done a good deed. But that feeling didn't last. About an hour down the road, I saw it in my rearview mirror. The black SUV. It was keeping a steady distance, its headlights like two piercing eyes in the darkness. My stomach tightened. It could be a coincidence, right? It's a major highway, but every time I changed lanes, he changed lanes. Every time I sped up, he matched my speed. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. I ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. Annoyed, I finally answered, ready to tell them off. "Hello." Silence, just static, like an open channel to nowhere. Then, a distorted voice whispered something I couldn't make out. I hung up, my heart pounding. A minute later, another call. This time, I looked at the caller ID. and a cold dread washed over me. It was my own license plate number. That's impossible. My hands started to shake. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat as if it were on fire. I needed to get away. I floored it, pushing my car to its limit, weaving through the sparse late-night traffic. The SUV stayed right with me. I took the next exit, a winding country road, hoping to lose him. The road was dark, flanked by dense forest. The signs were for towns I'd never heard of. After what felt like an hour of frantic driving, I saw a familiar sight up ahead. The flickering lights of a rest stop. The same rest stop. Panic set in. This wasn't possible. I hadn't turned around. I checked my GPS. It was offline. I kept driving, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, past the rest stop and back onto the main road. The rain was coming down harder now, blurring the world outside. The road sign started repeating, Stockton, 10 miles. Then, a few minutes later, Stockton, 10 miles again. I was trapped in a loop. A nightmare on asphalt. My phone rang again. My license plate. I couldn't resist. I had to know. I answered. Who is this? What do you want? This time, the voice was clearer. It was a child's voice, a girl's voice. And it was singing a nursery rhyme Marbell and I used to sing. A cold, chilling terror wrapped around me. I screamed and threw the phone against the dashboard, shattering the screen. Then, I saw her. Standing on the side of the road, drenched in rain, illuminated by my headlights, it was Marbell. Not the vibrant, laughing Marbell I remembered, but a pale, hollow-eyed version of her. Her mouth was a thin, hard line. I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt just inches from her. She didn't move. She just stared at me, her eyes filled with an accusation that cut deeper than any knife. You left me, she whispered, her voice carried on the wind. It wasn't the wind, she was right there, her voice inside my head. You just drove away and left me. Marbell. No, I cried, tears streaming down my face. IDN single quotes T.I COULDN single quotes T.. The accident. The flashing lights, the twisted metal. I was driving. She was next to me. The doctors said there was nothing anyone could have done. But in that moment, seeing her ghost on this lonely road, all I could feel was the crushing weight of my own guilt. I was the one who walked away. I was the one who survived. You should have stayed, she said, her voice dropping to a low, guttural growl that wasn't hers. Her face began to distort, her features melting and shifting in the rain. I couldn't take it anymore. I hit the gas, swerving around her spectral form, my tires screaming on the wet pavement. I drove and drove, ignoring the repeating signs, the endless loop of highway. I just had to keep moving. But no matter how fast I went, I couldn't escape. The road always led back. Finally, my car sputtered and died, coasting to a stop. Out of gas, of course. I was right back where it all started, the deserted rest stop. Under the flickering light, the black SUV was parked in the exact same spot. My car had rolled to a stop right next to it. The driver's side door of the SUV creaked open. The man with the weary face got out. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my passenger seat. I followed his gaze. Marbell was sitting there. Her pale face was turned towards me, a terrifying, knowing smirk on her lips. You owe me one, the man said, his voice flat and dead. He started walking towards my car. Maribel's smirk widened. Time to pay up, she whispered, her voice echoing the man's. You left me. Now you can't leave, ever. The man reached my driver's side window. His face was gaunt. His eyes were black pits. He wasn't a man, he was something else, a collector. And my guilt had summoned him. He tapped on the glass, the sound like a gavel falling. My world shrank to the inside of this car, trapped between the specter of my grief and the embodiment of my failure. The engine wouldn't start. The road would only lead back here. There was no escape. The sun wasn't going to rise for me again. This is my penance. This is my forever. Thanks for watching.